Welcome all. Today, we are going to be raking back the curtains on SISAY Weatherlight Captain. That's right, the 3-cost, 5-color commander is going to be our leader for the elementals. You might see how she only has 1 white in her commander cost, but her ability down at the bottom, search your library for a legendary permanent card with converted mana cost less than SISAY's power, put that card on the battlefield then shuffle your library, it costs Wooburg, or 1 of each color. This makes our deck 5 colors because her color identity is 5 colors. Now this ability is going to be limited by her power. However, she does get +1/+1 for each color among legendary permanents we control, and we do have a lot of legendary permanents. We are going to be able to outvalue our opponents to the max. The main themes we are going to be running are elementals, legendary, and landfall. We're going to be having a lot of landfall triggers going off with the Yarok, doubling all that. We're going to be ready to go. First, we're going to be going into the legendary elementals in the deck because those are going to possibly hit all 3 of our themes in the deck. First, we have Omnath, Locus of Rage, a 7 cost, so we probably won't be pulling him out of the deck that much, but he will be comboing off with Risen Reef at any moment. Next, we have Omnath, Locus of the Royal, a 4-cost, 3-color legendary permanent. Perfect for SISAY. When he enters the battlefield, we deal damage equal to the elementals we control, and he's just going to be occurring more and more value, giving +1/+1 counters to things, and drawing us cards. The last Omnath we have today is going to be Omnath, Locus of Creation, the newest Omnath, a 4-cost, 4-color legendary permanent, perfect for SISAY again. When Omnath, Locus of Creation enters the battlefield, we get to draw a card, and we're possibly going to be getting 2 landfall triggers if we have a sacrifice land that fetches another land out of our deck, popping off SISAY again. Pulling out Omnath on turn 6 is going to be huge for us. But those are just the Omnaths. We have a ton more of legendary elementals coming up, so let's just get right into them. First on the list of the rest of our legendary elementals, we have Horde of Notions. A 5-cost, 5-color legendary elemental, works perfect with our deck, going to be giving us some easy graveyard recursion and just kind of a beast on the battlefield. Next we have Muldrotha the Gravetide, a 6-cost, 3-color legendary permanent. She's just going to give us the game-breaking graveyard recursion, giving us lands, elementals, you name it. It's coming out of the graveyard for even more value. Next, we have Yarok the Desecrated, a 5-cost, 3-color legendary permanent. He's going to be hitting our black color for SISAY, and he's going to be doubling all of our ETBs. Another powerful legendary creature is Animar, Soul of Elements, a 3-cost, 3-color legendary elemental. He works perfectly with Omnath, Locus of Creation, who's going to be putting counters on it. Following up that, we have Phylath, World Sculptor, a basically upgraded version of Avenger of Zendikar, and he's going to be putting down massive plants on the battlefield, a possible win con in the late game if we have nothing else. Titania, Protector of Argoth. Not really one we're going to be pulling out of our deck, but definitely going to be a great engine if we need her. Next, we have Gigantha the Wellspring, a new 5-cost, 2-color legendary elemental, just going to completely enable SISAY for free. And last of the elementals, we have Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, enabling all of our non-token creatures to be forests, so when we're playing them they count as forests entering the battlefield. It's going to be a monstrous play if we have her out. I know I said that was the last of the elementals, but I lied. We have Morophon the Boundless, a 7-cost, so we're not really going to be pulling him out of our deck, but if we have him when it's right, maybe when there's an Animar on the battlefield, all of our elementals are going to start being free. The insane amount of value we're going to be get from Morophon is insane. Continuing on with our legendary permanents, we have Lavinia and Lazoth, both 2-cost, 2-color legendary permanents that are perfect for SISAY. They're there just to get extra value or lock out a game. Next we have Taeum, Luminous Enigma, a 4-cost 3-color legendary permanent. His ability is going to let us pull lands out of our graveyard, potentially infinitely if we have a Lotus Cobra out. Next, Mina and Den, Wildborn, 4-cost 2-color legendary permanent. We get to play an extra land, possibly pull her out in the late game and seal out a game for sure. The next 3, Shaman of Forgotten Ways, Sylvala Explorer Returned, and Sylvala Heart of the Wilds. Just great utility legendary permanents that are going to help us win the game. That's it for our legendary creatures, but what about our other legendary permanents, because we are running that legendary theme? We have Planeswalkers. These we can slap on the board, occur extra value, and our opponents are going to have to focus these first before our face. First, we have Tamio, Collector of Tales. She's just there for some extra graveyard recursion, and we get to sift through our deck a little bit more. Next, Huatli, Radiant Champion. We can easily get her ultimate off for some extra card draw and help us go through our deck. Next, we have Nissa of Shadowed Bows. Perfect in our deck with the landfall trigger, possibly just get her out turn 5, turn 6, and slap down a creature. Next, we have a Planeswalker that we're not really going to be searching for. It's Kiora the Crashing Wave. She's really just there for that -1 and potentially turn SISAY on a little bit more. Our last 2 Planeswalkers in the deck are absolute bangers. We have Lord Windgrace and Ren and 6. These 2 are heavily land oriented, which is just going to turn on our deck to the max. Lastly, we just have our utility creatures in the deck. We got a lot of extra elementals here that are going to help us move through the game and occur an insane amount of value. Right off the bat, you can see Risen Reef. Whenever Risen Reef or another elemental enters the battlefield under your control, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you may put it onto the battlefield tapped. If it's a non-land card, you get to draw it. It's an insane amount of value. We're being dropping so many elementals down. And another great card in our deck is Lotus Cobra. I mean, all these cards are going to be doing so much work, but Lotus Cobra, sometimes we're going to be dropping 4 lands a turn, giving us 4 extra mana. Even if there's a Yarg on the battlefield, that's 8 extra mana on top of the lands that we just dropped. So we do have a lot of creatures in the deck, but we do also have 2 artifacts, Chromatic Lantern and Mimic Vat. Chromatic Lantern, obviously they're just a mana fix, but we also do have some sorceries. Now, all of these sorceries and instants are going to fall under our other themes, being legendary or lands. The 4 on the left can flip over into lands, and the 2 on the right are just going to occur more and more value with our other legendary permanents. That's pretty much everything for the deck, but now we have the mana base to go over. It's very, very important to have a good mana base working for you. I've put 8 lands up here on screen, but they all do very different things. We'll have lands like Primal Beyond, which work great in the elemental deck because it'll tap for any color, and all we have to do is just reveal an elemental for it to come in untapped. We'll also have cards like Prismatic Vista, which we can pay a life, whatever, sack it, and get another land. That's 2 lands down in 1 turn. We'll have cards like Ragran Triome and Overgrown Tomb. We can search for both of these out of our deck because they count as 2 or 3 different types of basic lands. We have utility lands like Field of the Dead, a possible win con in the late game. And then we have a couple other lands in here like Shivan Reef and Botanical Sanctum. Both of these will come in untapped and help us move through the game. And of course, last we have basic lands that we can search out as well if we need to. Now I'm just going to be going over the rest of the lands in the deck, and you can pause if you need to. We'll have cards like Command Tower to tap for any color. We also have the Sacrifice lands that will search for another one, 6 of them in the deck, enabling huge turns. Another important type of land in our deck is going to be the Shock lands. We have 8 of them covering the main colors in our deck. We also have the Triomes in case we need to pull out a land and it can come into the battlefield tap, no problem. Now I've already gone over the other lands in the deck, and what I want you to try and do here is guess how many of each basic land we actually have in the deck. We have 9 basics, and I'll give you a hint here. The main colors are red and green. Go ahead and write in the comments below. Now that's it for the deck tech, and if you found this video either interesting, helpful, or fun, please feel free to leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Oh, actually, one more thing. The answer to the question is 3 forests, 2 mountains, 1 island, 1 plains, and actually 2 swamps. We don't have a lot of swamps in our deck, and it's going to be good to have an extra chance to pull a swamp out of our deck if we need to.